Imagine a world where the fundamental rules of reality, the stuff they drilled into us in high school physics, just stop applying. We're talking about concepts that, until literally right now, belonged strictly to the realm of blockbuster science fiction. You've probably seen this stuff powering the plot of Marvel's Avengers Endgame, or taking Captain Pike on some wild, mind-bending journey in Star Trek. But what if I told you, none of that is fiction anymore? Today, in this explainer, we are exploring a breathtaking quantum anomaly that human physicists have actually built in the lab. We're diving headfirst into the impossibly real, beautifully alien world of time crystals. So grab your popcorn, because we are looking at how humanity is literally crystallizing time itself.
Okay, just let these words sink in for a second. Everything is born out of nothing. This whole world of time crystals emerges. That's from physicist Ivan Smoljuk. I mean, it sounds like poetry, right? Or some ancient mythology, but this is modern science. Scientists are basically acting as rogue pioneers right now, manipulating the absolute deepest levels of quantum mechanics to literally spawn entirely new worlds of matter from seemingly nothing. They aren't just sitting back observing the universe anymore, they're out there creating bespoke states of reality that absolutely defy logic, bending the very fabric of existence to their will. It's wild.
Which brings us to part 1, the anomaly, a clock that ticks forever.
So, to really wrap our heads around the magnitude of this anomaly, let's contrast something super familiar with something completely bizarre. Think of a normal space crystal, like a diamond. A diamond is gorgeous because its carbon atoms are locked into a highly organized, static, three-dimensional grid. It's frozen in space, right? But what if a clock existed that never, ever needed winding? A clock that could tick for all of eternity, without losing a single drop of energy. That is the suspenseful, mind-bending reality of a time crystal. It takes that spatial grid concept from the diamond and just flips it into the fourth dimension. Instead of being frozen in space, a time crystal features particles that vibrate and repeat their patterns in time. And here is the truly crazy part. They do this at their absolute lowest energy state. So they are constantly moving, locked in this never-ending cycle, but they burn zero energy to do it. It's kind of like a dancer who can twirl forever without ever breaking a sweat or needing to catch a breath. No batteries required.
And, the breakneck momentum of this scientific journey is staggering. Seriously, it's moving so fast. In 2012, Nobel laureate Frank Wilczek first postulated that these 40 anomalies could even exist. He was basically just asking a mathematical what if. Well, just 4 years later, in 2016, physicists actually created the first microscopic one in a lab. But recently, things have gone into absolute hyperdrive. By 2025, scientists figured out how to bring these oddities into the macroscopic world, making them visible to the naked eye. And by early 2026, we are literally seeing levitating time crystals and systems being hooked up to real external mechanical devices. I mean, humanity went from a wild theoretical daydream to mastering this alien technology in just over a decade.
Let's move to part 2, the visual spectacle, seeing the impossible.
Picture this. There was this experiment at CU Boulder. Researchers took liquid crystals, literally the exact same stuff that's inside your flat-screen TV right now, and they trapped light between specially coated glass plates. Well, the light forces the molecules to constantly shift and twist, creating an endless, repeating loop of motion. Under a microscope, and sometimes even to the naked eye, this space-time crystal looks like undulating, neon-hued, psychedelic tiger stripes. Just imagine staring into a little glass dish and seeing glowing ribbons of matter ceaselessly writhing around in a perfect, eternal rhythm, completely untouched by temperature changes. It's this hypnotic, vivid spectacle, and it's born entirely out of shining a continuous laser light.
Which really leads us to a provocative question, one that honestly sounds like the pivotal twist in a sci-fi thriller. What happens when you break Newton's third law? We all know the law, right? For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. It is the absolute bedrock of classical physics. But what if you could engineer an environment where that law simply gets thrown completely out the window?
Well, in early 2026, researchers at NYU actually built a levitating device you can practically hold in your hand. Using sound waves, they suspended tiny beads in midair. But because of how the sound waves mediate the space, these beads interact non-reciprocally. Okay, what does that mean? It means bead A pushes on bead B, but bead B doesn't push back equally. Newton's third law is totally broken, and because of this wildly impossible imbalance, the floating particles begin to spontaneously oscillate. They settle into a visible, self-sustaining, rhythmic ticking. It's literally a classical time crystal floating on a cushion of sound. It's levitating matter, locked in an eternal dance, just completely rewriting the rules of motion.
That takes us to part 3, the multi-dimensional symphony.
Okay, so if a standard time crystal is a clock ticking a single steady beat like tick, tick,
tick, then a time quasicrystal is an entirely new phase of matter. Instead of one repeating frequency, the particles vibrate and tick over time at multiple, distinct, highly organized frequencies all at the same time. Let's ground this in a human analogy. Instead of hitting a single piano key over and over again, this quantum anomaly is playing a sustained, complex musical chord. It's a literal symphony of time, perfectly synchronized across multiple dimensional frequencies, creating this beautiful harmony where we once only saw isolated beats.
And the way they actually made this, it is pure high-stakes alchemy. The physicists took a millimeter-sized chunk of diamond, already one of the hardest materials on Earth, mind you. Then they violently bombarded it with powerful beams of nitrogen. These beams acted like microscopic wrecking balls, knocking out carbon atoms and leaving behind these tiny atom-sized empty voids. Electrons rushed into these dark microscopic caverns. Finally, the team fired highly precise microwave laser pulses into the diamond. These microwaves acted like a conductor's baton, sparking the electrons into their temporal rhythms. They effectively forged a multi-frequency time quasicrystal right in the dark heart of a diamond. No way, right? It's incredible.
This brings us to part 4, powering the quantum future.
This part brings us to a massive jaw-dropping announcement from May of 2026. Researchers at Aalto University declared that perpetual motion, the legendary, completely impossible dream of ancient inventors, is actually possible in the quantum realm. And guys, they didn't just theorize it, they finally achieved the ultimate milestone. They successfully linked a constantly ticking time crystal to a real external mechanical device. They converted this eternal quantum motion into something that can actually interact with the macroscopic world, effectively creating a perpetual engine.
Think about what this means. Because these crystals can theoretically tick forever without losing any energy, they are the ultimate battery-free engines for our future tech. Imagine quantum computers that use these crystals as perfect quantum RAM, storing incredibly fragile memory over super long periods without any degradation. Think of precision timekeeping, watches and network clocks that literally never drift and require almost zero energy to run. Consider military-grade quantum sensors that never need a recharge, silently tracking magnetic forces for decades on end. And on a wildly practical level, the unique visible patterns of these crystals could even be printed onto $100 bills as unhackable time watermarks. I mean, we are quite literally harnessing the power of eternal time to secure and run our world.
Which brings us to our final thought. We've seen how scientists have conjured matter from nothing, they've built levitating orbs that literally break the laws of motion, and they've forged symphonic crystals of time inside the hearts of diamonds. So if human ingenuity can engineer an anomaly that ticks for all eternity, defying the very degradation of the universe, what other impossible laws are just waiting to be rewritten? What other blockbusters of science fiction are about to become our everyday reality? It's something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep your eyes on the quantum realm, and I'll catch you next time.